blob, one humongous blobby thing, and this is spiritual light, right? This is the Godhead, basically, in all the different forms of the spiritual light, the Ein Sof hour. Okay, so the Ein Sof hour produced this Keter, and everything beyond Keter, and the higher spiritual planes. And then what happens is they project imagine like infinite amount of little rings, little rungs coming off of this, like right here, little rays with spoons attached to them, is how we were describing it. And these little rays with spoons attached to them reach down into the shadow of the spiritual thing, which is the physical, mental, and causal planes, the mind, and the abyss, and the Mula Prakriti. Mula Prakriti is a very interesting and important concept that everybody needs to go into at some point. Basically what it is a thin, oily substance. Thin, oily substance. And this is located in between a very thin vortex, a very thin space, in between the spoon and the higher spiritual planes, which is the only real thing. So we have this thin, oily substance being pulled up with a thin space in between, being pulled up from this shadow. Pulled up, it's gobbing up, it's gobbing, the gobs are collecting, the gobs are collecting, the gobs are collecting, and eventually the density, the force of this collection causes it to flip inside out and ascend into this humongous blob, this humongous spiritual blob. And so the Mula Prakriti right here is also called the germ in the root. It is, as we were saying, an oily substance. It catches the higher spiritual ideals. It catches all of these things and forms them into a thin, oily structure. And if you want to think of this in terms of the tree of life, we have the supernal triad up here. This is Bina, Keter, Chokmah, as well as the everything before it. And these beams reaching down these are the higher Sephiroth, like that of Gevra and Chesed, and the inertia being raised from the oily substance is Tiferet, the solar plexus, and the thin vortex in between Tiferet, where the center of the entire scheme is happening, is Dot, which is the hidden Sephiroth, the 11th. I'm not sure the number, but I think it might be 11. I'm pretty sure that it's 11. The 11th Sephiroth, which is right in between Keter and Tiferet. It represents knowledge, and so knowledge, everything, learning and learning and learning and learning, causes these globs to form the light body. So these globs forming are really the body of light. And this causes it to raise in frequency, raise in vibration, and raise and raise and raise in vibration until it is pulled by the force of its own volition into infinity. And so now we're going to talk about, okay, so look at this drawing right here. We have a drawing from my website, also from agoyangyang.com is where that you can find this from originally. And so we have the humongous blob up here represented by this 7-pointed star, the divine Godhead. And then from this comes this oily substructure, this physicality, this shadow of the superconscious, which is endowed with all of the aforementioned mechanisms to allow it to ascend back into infinity. And so I'm going to do a short, I'm just going to read here from what I've copied from, copy and pasted from agoyangyang, I believe is the word .com. You can read this on my website under enlightenedawareness.webpain.com. You go to Divine Alignment and then click on the 7 dimensions and the 7 bodies here. And so we have 1, the physical. A, dense physical body composed of solids, liquids, and gases. B, the etheric double, a counterpart of the dense physical, which is composed of the 4 physical ethers. So, I mean, I could do a whole satsang on the etheric body, but what it is the battery body. It's a battery of your physical body that allows it to have all this energy, that allows it to have this electricity in the neuron synapses and your nervous system, and all this is actually connected at the nervous system, the etheric body. And this is what gives all this electricity to your body. It catches the ideation of the astral plane, which catches the ideation of the causal plane, and forms your physical body out of your mind. Right, so we have the astral body, which is the body of lower desires called the Kama Rupa, and then we have the body of the higher desires called the astral body. 3, the mental body. A, the lower mental body, which registers concrete thought. And then B, the higher mental body, which registers abstract thought. And so you remember when we were watching Evangelion, and I was trying to explain to you the difference between yellow and the blue guy, right? And so the blue guy was actually he was exhibiting abstract thought, right? He was saying like oh, it won't be a waste if we can do this or that, right? And then the yellow guy was exhibiting concrete thought, where he was saying, oh yeah, we'll have to like do this to the newspapers, and this is already leaking out into the public, and this is, right? So one of them is abstract, like creating like ideas and plans, and the other is putting the plan into motion, right? And that is the difference between the throat chakra and the solar plexus chakra. Or we can just think of that in terms of the difference between the lower mental body, the lower mental plane, and the causal plane. Actually, would be a better way to think of it. Now, sorry about that, guys. A better way to think of it as the causal plane and the mental plane. You have, but it's also represented by the solar plexus, so it's not inaccurate. You have, as I mentioned before, you have the higher abstract ideas, and then you have the actual putting it into effect. And this is also resonant of the difference between the god of wisdom, Thoth, the scribe of the gods, and Anubis, which is considered like the god of medicine and law and invention, or if you want to think about it in terms of the Grecian cast of gods there, Hermes would be considered that, and it's actually relating to the Sephiroth Hod, which is on the bottom left side of the pillar of severity. And there's a very important difference between this mercurial, concrete thought and this, I'm not sure what planet relates to Chokmah